Welcome everyone. It is 3 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. As mentioned on the previous slide, we will, let me go back, sorry. We will make sure we keep ourselves muted, and we will use the chat box for communication. All of your questions will be answered at the end, and you will get 1 hour of CPE credit. And additionally, you will get the recording and the resources will be emailed to you tomorrow. Okay, so again, if you can just make sure that you are muted. We have 194, 95, 96, it keeps going up participants right now. Zoom has the capacity to hold 300. So once we hit that mark, anyone that tries to get in will unfortunately not get to get in. Okay, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, well, again, welcome. Very excited to have you all here with us today for our first ESL Teacher Collaborative of the school year. And I'm very excited because it's a passion of mine. I will share a little bit more throughout our time together today. It will be a very quick 1 hour session, but we will look towards potentially offering more opportunities like this. So today you can see my visual of the we and the me, we're better together. So I'm hoping that you will learn from others today. We have several special guests with us that are ESL teachers in our region. And the hope is that we will all learn together. We do have someone that's unmuted, so if you can make sure you mute yourself. Okay, so I am Melanie Yoakum, and I have been serving English learners for 22 years in different capacities. I've been a classroom teacher, an ESL specialist, bilingual ESL specialist at the district level, and now I'm currently the ESSA team lead at Region 11, which is also encompasses bilingual ESL. So I'm very passionate about working with English learners and really hope to learn more from our participants today, as well as our presenters that are going to be sharing information. I've included a picture of Region 11. We are very, very large, and you may not be aware of just how big we are. Region 11, the service center sits here in Tarrant County, just west of downtown Fort Worth. But as you can see, we go all the way up to the Oklahoma border, and out to Denton, all the way to Dallas County area, all the way out to Palo Pinto and Erath County. So we're a very large district, or not district, a very large region. So I can see we have a lot of different people in the chat box: Granbury, Cleburne, Crowley, Lake Worth, Ponder, Northwest, and many more joining us. So thank you so much for being with us today. Again, as I mentioned, I'm very excited about the opportunity to share with you. If you do Twitter, I highly encourage you to. If you don't, I call it free PD. If you want to, you could follow me as well as our bilingual ESL Twitter handle, and you will find so many great things, so many great resources. And if you're interested in who to follow, feel free to email me and I can share a few of the people that I follow on Twitter. So before we get to our special presenters today, I wanted to share with you what we do have currently available on our Learning at 11 site. This is a site that was built to support our school districts and our charter schools and parents and families to have a place to come to gather resources and activities to assist with remote learning. I'm not going to take us there just for the sake of time, but I've given you a screenshot in this, the link, as well as on this page, and a QR code. But as you can see, I have the green arrow pointing to where you would find the EL resources. When you go into our Learning at 11 page, there are modules with different grade levels, and you can go into each grade level and or each band of grade levels, and you'll find resources. And under each one, you'll find one that says English learners. And inside each of those pages, that you'll find resources. And so you'll have a place to go. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, just because you can go and look through all those resources later. Here's a screenshot, just a small screenshot of the activities. Let's practice English. This is an example of 3rd through 5th grade. As you can see, I've given them a let's get started, maybe some options for learning. We know that we're not going to be able to do 6 hours of online teaching or learning at this point. It's too much, especially for our English learners. And so in thinking about that, providing a schedule or an example of schedules, that's probably the biggest question that I've had, not only from teachers in our region, but family members as well that are at home, serving as now their child's teacher. Is what do I do about the schedule? So there's an example, and then giving some tips for the parents to let them know when they need to take frequent breaks. If you cannot read or write in English, it's okay to read and write in your first language. How to use the Google Translate app, and then also some suggestions on when they do watch videos. So you'll notice as you move up in the grade levels, those tips change. Even when you get to secondary, 9 through 12, you'll see that it's more about the student now and not particularly a note to the parent. As I said, I'm not going to go into that document, but once you get into that document, it is several pages long. It also gives an example of Monday through Friday, what to do. And what you'll see is it's repetitive. It's the same thing every day. And there's a reason for that. English learners need routine. They need to know what to expect every day, and it makes it easier to follow. I don't know about you, but I'm at home with 3 children and a husband that's a teacher, and my youngest is a 2nd grader, and it's so much easier knowing we're going to do this, this, and this every week or every day, because most of us are all, we're working at the same time, and many of your families are in that same situation. So it's very routine. And then it moves into receptive and productive language. So we have our listening and reading. Here are some things you can do alone or with the parent. And again, it changes as you move up in the grade levels. And then we have the speaking and the writing. And here are some activities that you can do, as well as resources. And in the younger grades, I actually have some resources for the parents to learn English. And so those are some things that you can go to and check out. So that's Let's Practice English, and it is all the way through pre-K-12. Still working on some other pieces, but between working on compliance and instruction, I haven't got to finish some of the things that I want to, but be watching and checking back because you'll see more things added. This is another example of a resource that's there, Learning at Home with No Technology. And this is really focusing on that reading, writing, speaking. So read, write, talk. This is in that particular order, but I'll tell you just in general, we don't have to do it in that order. It could be talk, read, write. It could be write, read, and talk. And it's really depending on what your objective is. But this one is read, talk, write. And so this gives ideas for pre-K through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, 6th through 12th, as well as some additional activities. Also, I want to mention that I've had several districts that have reached out, or that I've reached out to, and that have offered to translate. So you will notice there are a few documents that are translated into Spanish, even Vietnamese now. So we do have some things that are there. If you are proficient in another language and you are willing to translate, then please feel free to reach out to me, and I would be happy to share the documents and get you to translate those. So this one is Let's Practice English with Pictures. So we have one choice, or the option of no technology, and then the other of if you have technology, here are some things you can do. And so using visuals as much as you can with your remote learning or your guidance you're giving to parents is very helpful, because we know that many of our parents may not be proficient in English. And so we need to give them that same type of simplistic guidance as well as pictures. And so this is talk about it, label it, write about it. And again, it doesn't particularly have to be in that order always, but again, we're teaching remotely and we want to make it simple for our user. And then finally, there is a document on how to translate. I've already come across some additional things, so I'll probably be updating this, but this gives a guide to not only families, but to you. So you're aware that there are things that you can do to translate. I've come across recent ones that if you have Outlook email, that you can translate there. I've also been screen recording myself and showing others how to do translate. And I would encourage you to do the same. It's very easy. There are several apps or tools out there that you can use to do that. So the more that you can utilize that and really show step-by-step and model was very helpful to parents and your students. Also, something to mention is having a YouTube channel and posting your videos there is a place for students to go and watch you do little mini lessons or mini blurbs. I'll tell you that as a parent, it's been very helpful. My child's teacher has every assignment she has a little video explaining exactly what to do. So we watch that first, and then we proceed to the activity. So I would highly encourage you to create little videos explaining what's needed to be done before you ask the students to complete the task. So the next thing I want to share with you is, you may have seen this. It's been on Twitter. I've been tweeting it. ESL at Home, 8 weeks tech-free. This is by a teacher in New Jersey, and her name is Maria. And she is an ESL teacher, as well as I think she's GT and several other roles as well. But this document is actually up to 27 languages right now. And this is posted on our Region 11 Learning at 11 site. And under the English learners, you will find that at the bottom. And I just keep adding them as the languages come in. So we are minus a few right now because I noticed last night that she had additional ones. And this has been a very collaborative effort across the US of different people offering to translate. So it's very exciting how everyone has come together during this time. So please be looking, go to her site, or you can certainly look at ours and download those documents for use. All right, so I'm going to share one of our first guests, Amanda Holtz. I'm going to actually just share her site with you. However, Amanda is with us, and she is welcome to share if I don't catch anything. But Amanda is an ESL specialist in Keller ISD, and she has created this Google site for her ESL students at the 2 campuses that she serves. And some of the things that you may see on it, and we have the link here so you can go and check it out, are very well probably specific to her district, but it gives you great ideas, and there may be resources on there or something that you haven't thought of to now mimic and also share. So that is Amanda Holtz, and there's the QR code and the link at the bottom. So feel free to check that out and see what all Amanda has going on. And you can see that she's doing weekly Zooms and has a schedule there. And yeah, just encourage you to check that out. All right, so we have our first guest. Michelle Addison is from Lake Dallas ISD. And we first met, I guess, a few years ago when I came to the service center. And Michelle's going to share what she's been doing to collaborate and meet with her ELs during this time.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Melanie. Yes, I work with Lake Dallas ISD. We're a small district. We have 3 elementary schools, 1 middle, 1 high school, and we're between Denton ISD and Louisville ISD. And I'm the ESL specialist at my campus, and so I I work with the teachers, collaborate with them, but then also I have my pullout group of ESL students. So one thing, once the school closures happen, the first thing that our district asks is that we reach out with a phone call to all of our kids. So first we let the classroom teachers reach out, and then I also made sure I reached out to all the students by phone. I have a ESL paraprofessional who speaks Spanish. So we would conference call the parents. And so that was the first thing. And so then, I was able to talk to the kids. And then I said, even like our kindergartners, we do a lot of songs. And so I sang with one of my students just to bring some normalcy about what we did. Then after that, I actually handwrote all 57 of my students. I mailed them a handwritten note. One was once again to reach out to them, but another reason too, I included my email address in there because with all this information coming out to parents, I just wanted a handwritten note that here's my email, reach out to me. And that worked out great. I got several students responses that way, emailing me. So then I was able to keep in contact with my kids that way also. And then we've been using Zoom. And I have set up Zooms with my ESL classes, but then also I'll go in with the teachers and Zoom with them. And so like today, the first grade had a Zoom. So I popped in and said hello and was able to check in with the kids. And that's been very beneficial because even when I've done the individual Zooms, one of my second graders told me she's struggling with the reading assignment. So I emailed her parents, and now I've set up just an individual Zoom with her. And today we did a reading lesson. We did an online reading lesson, and I was able to go over instruction with her and just have some one-on-one interaction with her and help kind of support her in the home environment, but then help her feel successful with the lessons. And then another thing, our district is using Seesaw to submit classroom assignments. And Seesaw right now, they waive the requirement where you can have a limited number of teachers. I think now you can have up to 5. So my teachers have added me as a collaborator. And so now I can go in also and see student work, see what they're submitting, comment on their work. And then also, once again, I'm messaging with the parent, another parent who says, she's trying to teach her children, she said the phonics and the letters in English, and she wanted some other resources. And so I was able to communicate with her and send her some links of some videos that her and the kids can do at home. So it's just been another great resource where we're not bombarding the parents with multiple contacts and stuff. It's one spot, but many different teachers can communicate with the parents. And then lastly, don't forget to collaborate with your teammates. I say we are a small district and there's 2 other ESL specialists at the campus. And really before all this, we would communicate only when, every couple months. And now we're having weekly meetings, which has been nice because we're going to say, okay, what's happening at your campus? What's happening at our campus? Okay, let's get together. What can we do? We noticed like some of our online lessons that were put on, we wanted to make them a little bit more EL friendly, kind of take out some of the verbiage. And so we've gotten together as specialists and supported the teachers that way. So, but those are some of the things. And then on the other side are just some resources that we've used. And I'll definitely reiterate what Melanie said, Twitter's been amazing. That's the first thing I check in the morning. All right, thank you. Thanks for having me, Melanie.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks so much. Yes, and great ideas, writing the hand note letter, just picking up the phone and trying to call because, again, many of our families might not have the technology. Okay, make sure that you're muted, those of you that are attending. And I saw, just real quickly, I saw a few things in the chat box. If you are attending today, you will get a copy of this session as well as the recording, and all of the links will be in there for you. Okay, so you will not miss out on anything. All right, so now we have Miss Laura Chang, and Laura is from Keller ISD as an ESL specialist. Laura has also spent time teaching abroad, and so we will let her share what she has been doing to support her ELs.
All right, thank you, Melanie.
Thanks, Laura.
So I serve 2 campuses in Keller that are K through 4, and I have basically 2 platforms that I've mostly been using. One is Zoom, and I do that once a week with my students, and basically that's kind of to meet their effective needs and also get that listening and speaking piece in. So for example, most of my Zooms have been a would you rather question at the beginning, because kids seem to love would you rather questions. And then we always finish with like a game. So like yesterday we played a game that I had gotten basically from The Price is Right. It was the higher or lower game. So I would put a picture up and I would put how much do you think it costs on Amazon? And then they had to guess if it was higher or lower. So they really enjoyed that, and it got them talking, because I know a lot of them, don't speak English at home as much. So it's good practice for them. I also use Seesaw, and I've been using that in my classroom throughout the year. So most of my students are already familiar with it. It could be a little bit tricky to start it from home if they're not familiar with it, but it's been great because I can really hit the reading and writing piece with Seesaw. What I've mostly been doing is reading a story, posting the video with an assignment, which has been great because I can read the same story for all levels, but then I can scaffold, if they're a beginner, intermediate, I can find an activity that's a little bit more appropriate for them. If they're advanced or advanced high, I could try something a little more challenging. And then this website that you see here, basically, I just wanted to host all these resources in one spot, because at the beginning I was kind of sending all these emails, and I know their classroom teachers were sending all these emails, so I thought that's probably getting annoying, so I'm going to put everything onto one site. They can easily access it. So really I have all the information there. I can also post the videos of myself reading in case they can't get on Seesaw. At least they can still see my videos of me reading. So I found it has been pretty successful as far as getting feedback from my students.
Okay, thank you, Laura. All right, so there's Laura's site, and you will have access to this later. Our next guest is Yanetta Connolly, and Yanetta is also from Keller ISD as an ESL specialist, and we will let Yanetta share how she is reaching her campuses that she serves as their ESL specialist.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Yanetta Connolly, and I work with Amanda and Laura. So a lot of the things that you see are similar because we have an ESL team of, I think, 12 people, and we work together always. So that is very helpful because you get a lot more ideas together and we share them on a Google Drive. So in Keller, where I work at 2 campuses. There's a huge difference between campuses. So I work at a Title I school, and my main concern from the beginning was how do I get this information to the student, and how do I get the student to participate? So I went through a lot of the same steps that the first lady, Miss Addison, I think her name was, and I am actually still in week 4, still finding parents who do not have a Chromebook, and Keller, we gave Chromebooks out for free. So a lot of my Zoom meetings that I have every week are still getting the student and the parent to the right spot. So in order to make it very simple, the plan that you see on the left is an example of the plans that I send out on Sunday. They're also posted in the Parkview e-learning hub. I don't know for sure where the parents get it. I do know from the feedback from the parents that they really like it, that every day you have to do something. So the plan that is there focuses on the reading, listening, speaking, and writing, and the activities that they then can do in Seesaw will help me check whether or not they understood it. So one of the ways we look at the content is to support. So Keller ISD made I don't know how you called it, but a faster way of getting all the most important information in. So we look at that and we make sure that we support this information. One of the things we use in the district is Letterland. And Letterland can be very confusing because it has a lot of vocabulary that goes with the character. So we make little videos where we explain what it actually means to fix something. So all these things are embedded in the plan that you see. And a lot of these activities I recycle because I found that not everybody does everything. And it's, like Laura said, very easy in Seesaw to modify your plans, and students that do a lot, give them an extra challenging thing to do, and others who are not very much in Seesaw, you start with a different activity. I think that's mainly it. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Yanetta. Yes, and just to reiterate what Yanetta said, it's nice to have options for students, because some will finish faster depending maybe on their proficiency level, or some will take longer. And so having things that are optional to complete does help. All right, our next guest is Dr. Adam Bell, and Adam is coming to share with us some things that he's doing at the Newcomer High School in Arlington ISD. Hey, Adam.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Bell, and like we said earlier, I teach over at Newcomer High School in Arlington ISD. Absolutely love the kids. They're most of them are less than 2 years. We have a lot of first year, and then we have second years that are on their way to the regular school setting. But when we switched to online instruction, the big challenge that came to me was how do I produce a lesson that is accessible to a very, very newcomer student? And then how does that lesson also reach a newcomer that's been here right at 2 years and is about to head to the regular campus? So what I did through Canvas was I designed a pre-assessment with the mastery paths. And on the screen here, you can see the indents of everybody starts with their good things from a Capturing Kids' Hearts perspective. So I want to just have them check in, see how they're doing. I share my good thing, they share their good things. Then they do their assessment. And right on the very top, it says, this is not for a grade, just give it your best. If they completely bomb it, or they didn't understand the questions at all, it will automatically assign them a level 1 type assignment. So in that, it's very visual. There's lots of graphics to show them what the ideas are that we're talking about. I really focus on the BICS side of the ELL curriculum, if you will. And then as we move through the content, they can get to level 3, which is where we really push the academic language for them. If the students scored roughly like 6 points out of 10, they'll actually start out at level 3. So they don't have to do levels 1 and 2 assignments. And in there, they're going to develop more content vocabulary. And then because of limited access, level 4 assignments are optional, and they're highly synthesis based. So they're going to take the concept and really stretch it. I like to have like last week's question was, can a poem be considered nonfiction? And that really pushed the ideas of what are these genres that we're discussing and how are they being used for different audiences, etc. But at the very end of all of this, once they complete their assignments, there's a post test that they'll take. And we just look for progress at that point. The key piece to the success, though, is that the mastery paths are set up through Canvas. I've included a link on this page that can give you it's like a 40-minute video to show you how to do it. And if you're not familiar with Canvas, you're not comfortable with it, there's always Google Forms there too. I have my phone number here as well, so I have a little bit extra time on my hands lately. So please just feel free to text me or call me at any time. I can help you and your campus out with anything they might need in regards to differentiating a lesson for ELLs at home. And that's all I have for.
Thank you, Adam. That is awesome. We may have to have you back to do a little Canvas lesson for those of us that do have Canvas. Really great ideas about how to scaffold that, and if the student is not ready for a certain level, then it takes them back to another. Thank you so much. All right, now we have our English Learner Academic Intervention Specialist from Keller ISD, Kelly Cockrell and Cindy Hoover.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to start the talking, and I think Cindy will jump in here in just a minute. Our position, our role that we have as the academic intervention specialist is very different than what the ESL specialists are doing. We're fortunate that we have one academic intervention specialist per high school campus in Keller. And basically, the best way to describe our position is we get to be the ultimate advocate for each ESL student. And we don't teach class lessons. We don't have pullouts. We are there for the full support between the student and between the teacher, parent, administrator, everyone that comes in contact with the students. So with that being said, some of the things that we have been doing since this virtual learning has started is more on the affective side versus the academic side. We have reached out to all the students. I have almost 300 students. So I sent a mass email, and I'm sure, you know, some of them opened them, yes, but then I turned back around and individually emailed the ones, especially the ones that I know need the support. And I instantly started getting responses back. Some of the things that we are helping with are getting the devices for the students, making sure they know where they can go to pick up food. I wrote down some of the notes.
Hey, I'll add into that. I feel like the communication was a big deal for us with our kids, especially communicating with our newcomers, because I'm pretty sure that had I not reached out multiple times to my newcomers, they never would have asked me for help. They, you know, I had to call, I had to email, I know Kelly did too, and all of us did. They probably would have sat at home and not done anything. So I feel like the communication was big, and now they're still looking to get computers and things, but it took them a while for a lot of mine to respond and to even understand what was going on. So I think had we not reached out, then yeah, there would have been so many that would just still be sitting at home not doing anything.
Yes, and just reminding them that, you know, we're not on campus, but we're just an email away. Just email me, and I may not know the answer, but I will find it somehow. Not only have we been helping with the devices, getting some of the students had never used their email. And so we had to pretty much teach them how to use their email. And we had to come in different ways of doing that because we couldn't just email. They didn't know how. We were depending on friends to help pass on the information and help to get everyone set up. We still have some kids who are not there yet, but we're working on it. Teaching the students how to participate with Zoom, especially the newcomers, as Cindy was saying. I cannot even imagine I say this all the time, I can't imagine being a student in another country, but especially now that everything has just been turned upside down, I could not imagine having to conquer all of these new challenges. Besides just the academics checking in on, you know, the email, the Zoom, all of that kind of stuff, really checking in on how they are. A lot of our students have become the parent. They're responsible for getting their lunches and breakfasts for all of their families from the school campus or wherever they're picking up their food. And they are teaching their elementary siblings their class lessons. It's just a completely, you know, as we say, it's a different world, but their role has become very different. A lot of them are also working full time. Their parents might have been laid off, and now they have taken over the role of working full time. So we're really just checking in. What do you need? Is there something I can do? Is there someone I can contact? Helping make sure they know the number for the food bank and all of that kind of stuff. Also helping or just being there. during the school year, they like to come in and just vent, and then they move on and they're fine, and just still being able to be there so they can just vent and then they can continue going.
Yeah, I just remember that the older kids, I've had to speak to a lot of siblings of my kids. They are literally doing everything. They are picking up computers, they're picking up food, they're trying to help their brothers and sisters log on. And these are teenagers trying to help everyone in the family. So just remembering that there's a lot more going on in their homes, some of their homes, than worrying about doing a lesson.
And so we're also here helping the teachers. We've reached out to the teachers to let them know, we're still here. If you need help creating accommodations, if you need help with the lessons, we're still here. We can help you with what you need, but also to think about perhaps the way the kids are returning their lessons. It might be something completely different. Maybe it is the high school kid teaching the lesson to the second grader instead of doing an English lesson. To be able to count, to look outside of the box and be able to see what all they're doing and give them credit for what they are doing.
I know that some of mine have had trouble with Canvas and Google Classroom. Today, I did a Zoom with a student and we just did it together and I emailed the teacher. So just being flexible, working with the teachers to be flexible, knowing that it's not going to be turned in on Canvas, but she is doing it with me. So just like you said, trying to work with teachers to be flexible on how things are turned in or what they're doing.
And so I think that probably wraps up what we have been doing during this new time.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
Right.
Thank
you, Melanie.
Yes. So Cindy and Kelly have really honed in on exactly what we need to be doing and is meeting the effective needs. Also, Kelly made the point about, just in general, you're new to the country, you're new to the language. We know how overwhelming that can be in a classroom, but now they're at home and they're trying to navigate a device or technology. And in some of our children are refugees. They were living in a refugee camp before they got here. They didn't have technology. They've never maybe even opened up a computer. So there are many challenges with the remote learning. We have new students that have just started. We have kids that have just enrolled and now they are like, oh, here we go. We're gonna learn remotely. But in listening to the ladies, I realized that one of my slides was I missed. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, take us back because I feel like it's very important to talk about this. I don't know how I missed it, but somehow I did. So I want you to think about this and use the chat box to respond. Dear teacher, I wish you knew that, fill in the blank, love your ESL student. What do you think that your students would say? If you'll just use the chat box and type in your responses, what do you think that your students wished that you knew about them? One that sticks out to me is I'm not lazy. I just don't understand. And that's a big one. That's a big one even when students are with us face to face. They're trying their best. Also being afraid to speak. If we're now doing things remotely and it's either through Zoom or another platform, or maybe we're doing Flipgrid or Seesaw and the teacher is asking students to record themselves, students are already nervous enough about speaking, in a classroom. Now they're being asked to do maybe technology or speak through Zoom, and that can be very, very scary. Also, the sharing of computers. There may be one computer for multiple kids. there may be one cell phone for multiple kids. So not all of our districts and charter schools have the luxury of being able to lend Chromebooks or devices. So many, it's just a cell phone, and they're trying to complete these tasks. Many are working and doing school at the same time, and just really managing, even having my husband here and having 2 older children and a younger one, it's even a struggle for me to make sure he gets on during his reading group time, to make sure that, everything's done, because I'm trying to work, my husband's trying to work, and my 2 older kids are trying to, do their thing. So if it's a struggle for us, we can only imagine for some of our families. And some of the cell phone issues too, they have prepaid minutes, so they don't want to use their parents' minutes. Very true. All right, continue to put your responses in the chat box, because we do have 233 people in at the moment. So please continue to share, and we will go back to where we were. And I appreciate you allowing me to do that. I don't know how I missed that slide. And again, as mentioned, if you came in late, you will get a copy of the recording today, as well as a PDF of the presentation. So all of the hyperlinks will be in there. I'm going to go slow so I don't make you go cross-eyed. All right, and this one I want to share with you. This is one that I came across in Twitter. And this, I don't know Mrs. Park, but I wanted to share with you her simplistic lesson, or not lesson per se, but platform and to-do list for the students. And she's an ESL teacher at a high school in Massachusetts. And you can see her week 1, she has a lot of visuals, click here if you need help, here's my information. But what I like about it, it's very simple and visual. Number 1 is a step, you need to check in here and click. Here you need to watch a video and answer questions. And as you can see, she has each piece laid out and very simplistic for them. Something to consider is when we're in the classroom, often we talk to teachers about simplifying their language and speaking slower, because some of us do speak fast. But I want you to consider now, we are not face-to-face anymore. So often, we're looking for facial expressions. Is my teacher happy with me? Is she not happy with me? Well, now that's a little different. It looks a little different, and we don't really know. But also, we have to think about what we are blasting out there to them. You really need to consider, is my digital language, so to speak, is it simplified enough for an EL? Quite honestly, is it simplified enough for any student in general? But I want you to consider this, a 1-to-1-to-1. And this was shared in a collaborative group that I'm a part of with other ESCs in the state. And someone had shared this about remote learning and starting small. And so really, what is your home base? Does your district use Canvas? Are you Google Classroom? Are you Seesaw? What is it that you use? And then really thinking about, one learning aid. Is it reading, a video, a lecture, a slide, etc.? One collaboration method, is it going to be through a discussion board or Flipgrid? And then one learning experience, a short quiz or reflection. And again, these are just an overall, suggestion or example, but I want you to really consider moving forward, can my students easily follow this? And if I visited your page or what you sent out, would I be able to follow it? And that's something to think about. As before I moved into this position, I was an instructional content coach where I went into classrooms and coached teachers. And when I would sit in those classrooms, I would sit in there with the thought of, and I was not particularly coaching on about ESL or bilingual, just in general, but I would sit in the classroom and think, if I didn't speak English or only had a little English, could I follow along? And so I want you to consider, as you start making your plans and we continue, Whether we are only continuing for a few more weeks or if this extends, I want you to consider, is your digital language simple enough? All right, so any questions, thoughts, or comments? I'm going to look in the chat box and see if there's anything. So this is an opportunity. I see a lot of you are collaborating back and forth and sharing ideas, and this is exactly what we wanted to happen. But if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, please feel free to use the chat box. I'm going to mute myself and give you, you know, a minute or two to put your questions in, and then I will answer them. Or if your questions are for one of our presenters, and I may ask them to answer the question for you. So we have a question in the chat box about a recommendation, and really, again, it's the basic, the 1-to-1-to-1. If you feel like the 3-to-1-to-1 is working for your students, then, and you've been successful in getting them to respond and produce work, then I would say by all means continue go down that path. But again, just going back to very basic. So I see someone has asked about Zoom instructions in different languages. I will make myself a note and see if I can find anything. Also, again, if any of you joining us today are proficient in another language and you have ideas or you've created videos to help your families, would love to see them and share them. Okay, so someone has shared a YouTube video. Also, the chat box, I will save the chat, or actually it's automatically saved, and I will also include that. So if you want to scroll back through and see where others have made comments, because if you're frantically trying to write. So one of the questions we have from a district is, if the workload of the general classroom teacher is too large, is the ESL teacher providing alternate assignments? How are you handling the workload for students? My ladies, or even, not even my ladies, but Adam too, any of you today that participated, would you be willing to share how does that look in your district?
Yeah, I can speak to that. At Parkview, we work together. So the students who are a beginner and intermediate language, I always see. So we have a pull-out group. But the ESL support that I send to the teachers is weekly, and that supports part of the curriculum. So the teacher scaffolds, but it's one click where you can make it into ESL support. So that's how we accommodate it in our district. And coming back to what Kelly said earlier, there's really, I feel like with our EL students, there's really only one way that you are successful with them, and that is working together with everybody that you know. Like, you call people if you can't get in contact. The students that don't respond to me might respond in the classroom, and I think that collaboration and the trying out new things is the best way of helping them.
Thank you, Yanetta.
And Melanie, I'll jump in too.
Yeah.
We are also, I don't want to say they're not really alternative assignments, but we're taking the lesson plans that the teachers have made, and we're translating them into the other languages so that the parents at home, maybe if they're not proficient in English, they can read the lessons in their native language to help the kids. And then we are, I don't want to say simplifying it, but we are putting the instructions a little bit more straightforward, for kind of like, if we were face to face, where we might write it on the board, we write on the board and have visuals. And so that is one thing our ESL department is doing also, is making the language and the lessons a little bit more straightforward and I don't really want to say the students, it's more for the parents who are at home having to teach the students. So.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Any other of our presenters today want to add anything to what has been said?
This is Adam Bell. I saw in the chat box about the workload, and then right above that is a multi-strand lesson canvas, which they kind of fall into the same category. It took me about 2 hours to do the first one, and then this week it's taken me about maybe 45 minutes. So your first couple times will be extensive, and I got really fancy and used some other tools with H5P, which is another website. But it's worth it. I mean, our students, when they go to college, will more than likely experience Canvas now instead of Blackboard. And the amount of differentiation that occurs naturally through a multi-strand Canvas lesson is powerful for our kids. And it's also made me a stronger teacher in the same time.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, and he's right. I have a freshman in college right now, and she is using Canvas to do, especially now that she's actually home and not on campus anymore. They are doing everything through Canvas and Zoom. So definitely so. And I've seen some people posting things about YouTube and such. And if you go to the page, the Learning at 11 under the ELs, I have several YouTube videos on actually either screen sharing or me showing you how to change the subtitles in a YouTube video, as well as how to use your phone, the Google Translate app, and you just hover the picture over the top of a document and it translates. So there are lots of things there as well. So again, the whole idea of bringing this all together today and to continue this is to really have a place that we can all come together and collaborate. I have created a shared folder that you all have access to. And I will share that in the follow-up email, and there's the QR code. Right now, there's nothing in there. But remember, when we share, we do not want to delete anybody else's, item that's in there. You would download or make a copy, but just to have a space to where if you have ideas or have, resources that you want to share, that you can put those in. And I'll speak more to that when I send you the follow-up email. This is a site that I wanted to share with you that I think I created about 3 years ago after getting a phone call from a district that said, we don't really have any money to get a lot of resources. What do you have? And so this was born out of that. And it needs a lot of updates because we have been blasted with so many great resources since we have been working remotely. And so I do need to go in and update this, but this is a place where you can go and your families can go or your teachers. You can share it with anyone you want, but it has listening and speaking, reading and writing, grammar practice, even one page where it's practice English. And so the kids can go in there. And again, it does need a few additions because I haven't touched it in a while, but feel free to go there and see what resources you can find. All right, so what we're going to do now is a poll, and I really want your feedback. Do you want to continue this? So when we think about, moving forward, would you like to continue, having this time together? I hope everybody can see that. Maybe you can't. Let me try one more time. All right, yes, you can. Good. The idea would be that we would offer another opportunity through the end of this school year, and then would, looking, do you want to do it in the summer, and then moving this into the fall. And it may mean, it will mean that once we go back to what we will consider normal, that the topics would change, but it would really just be about collaboration. and even having guest people speak, like maybe I'll have Adam come back and share some things about what he's doing with Canvas, or some of our other teachers, but having guest speakers. And just like today, everybody was very gracious to offer to help. And so if you're willing to share as we think about, are we going to move and do another one, then I would love to have you. So right now we have about 89–90% saying yes, and a few say maybe. How often? It's almost 50-50, I guess, or a little more saying twice in the fall and twice in the spring. And we have quite a few people that say yes, they would like to do it in the summer. And we have 85% that says that they found this to be beneficial. So we will look towards offering this opportunity again. And how many of you, we'll use the chat box for this, would you be interested in continuing this through the school year? Okay, so we're already, almost towards the end of April. So I will look towards scheduling one for May. And please note that from here on out, because a lot of these things are we just really quickly thrown things together, like we're going to do this to support our campuses. So what'll happen is I will blast it out on social media, but be looking for the opportunity on our Region 11 site. That's where you will be able to register. Okay, so it won't look like how you registered. Many of you either it was forwarded in an email or through Twitter, but you will actually register through Region 11, and the bilingual ESL directors will get an email from me with that information, and hopefully that'll reach you. But if it does not, you are welcome to reach out to me and say, hey, when is the next one? And I will let you know. Okay, but the registration will look different. It just makes it easier too for credit. We'll already be in there. All right, and kind of to end this out, we've had several that have talked about really the effective pieces, and I want you to consider, when this is all over, what do you want them to remember? If you've been in any of my trainings at the Service Center, I talk a lot about the number one priority is the effective needs. They are not going to remember, probably remember the content. And if you think about, I often ask my participants to think about high school. What do you remember? Do you remember the teacher, or do you remember the content? And often it is not the content. I mean, for me, I remember my chemistry teacher, but I don't remember much of the chemistry. So you are the most important person right now. You are an essential, what I would consider an essential worker. I know nurses and doctors and so many others are out there on the front lines helping, but you are too, and you are essential. And this means more than them getting work done. And as you've heard people sharing either in the chat box or some of our presenters today, some are the teacher, the mom, the dad, they're working, they are doing a lot. And so when in the end, what is the most important thing? And it's not completing probably the assignment. And so checking on your students and really letting them know that you're there, that is what is the most important. So this is the end. This is my email, as you can see, and both of our Twitter handles. Also in the far right corner, that is our bilingual ESL page for Region 11. You can go there and find resources. It has a lot of compliance pieces, but there are also instructional resources there as well when you scroll to the bottom. Also a parent learner support site. So there are resources for parents. And then on the far left is a SMORE that I've been doing, I guess about 3 years now, called Succeeding in a Diverse Classroom. And there, it's not always just particular to ELs, but just diverse learners in general. It is usually a little more EL heavy just because that is my expertise. But if you would like to be a part of that, you can join that. If you follow that link there, you can start following me. Also, oftentimes people will email me and ask me to add them to my group. So that is another resource for you. And inside that, the April edition, there are a lot of things for what's currently going on. So a lot of resources, a lot of things to help you through this time. And that's all I have for us today. I really, really appreciate everyone that has joined us today. I know it's been a long day for many of you teaching remotely. I don't know about you, but I feel way more exhausted on working at home than, you know, going into the office. It's just so much different. So I hope that you enjoyed this time, and we will continue this in May. So be watching for that to come out so you can sign up. And as mentioned, Zoom only holds 300. So, and we had 236 today. So that's awesome that so many people were joined us and learned. And thank you to those of you that shared today and presented. Really appreciate your input. And if you want to share in the May one, please feel free to email me, and I would love for you to be a part of that. Those of you that shared today, if you have something else that you want to share when we have the next one, then please reach out to me, and I would love to have you again. So thanks, everyone, and you will get an email tomorrow with the recording, the link to the presentation today, and all the hyperlinks. So you'll have everything there in one place. Okay. Again, thank you so much. Take care of yourselves and have a good weekend.